Alright guys, so we got another retention Reddit story here. This one's kind of showing the importance of doing retention and becoming more successful, because this one's really interesting. The importance of retention in your 20s. On Friday, I drove up to the coast to see a good friend. He and I went to high school and college together, something rare that I do not take for granted, and we were able to see each other transform into the man we are today. I arrived at his home on Friday, a home just bought with his wife he married last year. It was an impressive property fitting for someone of his stature. They welcomed me into their home and we chatted. We went out onto the beach. We enjoyed. Later in the night, after his wife had gone to bed, we found ourselves slipping into introspective conversation on the couches by a fireplace, a chat on the past, if you will. As two individuals firmly in their late 20s, we both have gone through the gauntlet, so to speak, but he seems to have emerged better off than what I have. In 2013, we both graduated from college. We were both trying to find suitable jobs for our majors. I was trying to find something in marketing communications. He was trying to get into the social work. After many months of searching, he then decided to go into the only thing that would hire someone with no skills: straight commissions. Outside sales. Why? Because it was the only job he could find at the time. I was very naive. I shook my head and asked where he was going to go with that. If I could go back, I would slap myself. I would put my ego aside. I should have joined him. Life is sales, and I was a terrible salesman. So he is very right that life is sales. Like a lot of things, essentially, like you're trying to sell something. Like me on this YouTube video, I have to make my thumbnail a little bit more clickable than the vast majority of people. Also, I have to come up with ideas to kind of tie this into, like, with retention and all that. You can make yourself very attractive just because you're doing something that the vast majority of people honestly don't do, which is practice retention or nofap. And essentially this makes you different from the vast majority of people, because essentially it's going to give you that little bit of an edge. And by that I mean, like, all the benefits. Also, for those of you guys that are doing it for, like, the female attraction or the woman attraction, it makes you somewhat more attractive. But then also, if you make yourself really good looking, so you start working on that physique, you present yourself in a good way, well, you're kind of presenting yourself. It's like a salesman approach. At the time, I was ignorant on my skills, what made someone valuable in the economic marketplace. I eventually got into a marketing gig. Starting salary $30K a year. This was a year later. At the same time, my friend was making $45K in total salary, nothing to write about home for each of us. Another 2 years passed and I went somewhere else, and then I started my own business on the side. Combined, I was making about $57K. My friend was marketing an astounding $90K. By our mid-20s, we were both neck deep in our career paths, but on my side, something went terribly wrong and I fell off hard. I was laid off from my job. I was struggling to make ends meet in the business. After a year of striving, the business eventually folded. I found myself with over 20K in debt, in addition my student loans. During this time, I was also compulsively spilling my seed, so he was wasting it, and watching explicit content due to the loneliness and the stress. How about my friend? By 25, he became a recruitment sales manager, making $156K a year in base salary plus commissions. 2 years later, he moved to be with his long-term girlfriend, and just last year, they were married. He is now a sales director at a firm that sells durable goods direct to consumer. So that's kind of showing the comparison of these two guys' lives. Like, honestly, that's a big, real big difference. I give this guy props for starting his own business, because not everybody goes out there and takes that chance, or they're willing to take that chance. So I will admire that about him. He's willing to do that risk. But let's go ahead and continue on with the story. I asked him what happened. I asked him how he managed to make his level of success. He said he got a lot of lucky breaks, but he was a sight to capitalize on opportunities. Most of all, he said he decided to get rid of bad habits, and the worst of all of them, beating the meat. Talking in code here for YouTube purposes. When he was a sophomore in college, he decided to do that. I remember him telling me at the time, I thought he was crazy. No Semen would quit beating the meat. A couple months later, he met his now wife. He said gained a ton of energy, clarity, drive, and motivation. And we talk about this a lot, and you'll see these on a lot of these retention or nofap videos, that a lot of people get motivation, they get energetic, they get determined, they get like this confidence, and there's like so many benefits that honestly, like, it trips me out that just the narrative that people like it's pushed to release your seed, that it's actually good, it's healthy for you, but then there's benefits of you retaining it, and nobody really talks about that. It's like, what is it, a science that isn't really proven, but we know based off the vast majority of people that talk about it on YouTube, Reddit, all these posts, there's tons and tons of people that have experienced this, so there is something there. A couple months later, he met his now wife. He said he gained a ton of energy, clarity, drive, and motivation. He has not beat the meat since 2011. He also most of his success when he was in a long-term distance relationship, meaning he did not have fun, essentially did not release his seed. Now he can just sort of coast on all the hard work he put in when he had the energy and less obligations. He can quit today, not lift a finger for a whole year, and still continue his current level of spending. As I drove back on Sunday evening in the twilight, I felt somewhat as I reflected on my own life. While I had some things going for me, I did not max out on my youthful potential. I have skills, I have the physique, but I do not have the finances, and I have never been in the productive relationship. I currently live at home. I have never had as much clarity as I do now. I have heard about nofap back when I was 24 from my friend, but at the time I was mired in lust and having fun, and women, I laughed at them, and then I decided to do more research in January of 2019, and that's when my whole world changed. After I got onto the streak in November 2019, now I am on a 9 months of pure retention, but I am now 28, and we live in, what is it, basically 2020, when, what is it, I don't want to mention it because censorship. And I found myself laid off again in July. I do not take pity on myself, but I wondered what I could have been if I was a near strict retention when I was 20 years old. Gentlemen, your 20s are your foundation years. You will never get them back. Many of you are in your 20s. On this sub, you must fight for survival. You must capitalize. Windows of opportunity will open that will close and never be open again. Women that you crushed on will get married. Jobs that you wanted will be filled. Energy levels that you had will start to drop. Youthful buoyancy will diminish. Compound interest will not be as powerful as it is now. Take advantage, and the man on retention will take advantage. Get on retention, take advantage, and build strong foundations for the rest of your life. And then he has TLDR. I don't know what that stands for. Retention will help you build a strong foundation for your 20s by allowing you to have the energy and fearlessness to capitalize on opportunities. Edit, I don't attribute our respective levels of achievement solely on retention or lack thereof. There have been many men who have been materially or financially successful despite doing PMO. However, the whole world we live in is very competitive place. Every single edge that a young man can gain to carve out a space in this world, he must take it. Retention is an advantage that cannot be overlooked. If you stack up this advantage over months and years, it turns into something completely different. Read The Slight Edge for more information on this. So that's it for the story on Reddit. I want to touch up a little bit on it, give you guys a conclusion on the whole entire video. So essentially you can see the comparison. His buddy told him about retention and not beating the meat, and this guy didn't listen. He didn't take his advice. They go throughout their life, which seems like he's now in his 29s, 30. He's probably in his 30s now, because like he was saying he was like 28, and then like he learned about it in 29, or started doing more and more research in 2019. And essentially, overall, this guy didn't become as successful as his buddy. But then again, at the end of the day, you shouldn't be comparing yourself to somebody else. I know we all tend to do this, but the whole point of this guy's post is to understand that doing retention, it gives you a little bit of an edge. It makes you a little bit more focused. There's tons and tons of benefits, which if you guys want to learn a little bit more, there's some on my YouTube channel that you guys can go ahead and look up and see what benefits you could experience. But the ones that he did mention is like having more energy, being more motivated, and having clarity, which that shows you that it's really beneficial in successful ways. Because if you want to become more productive, you want to have this mission or this goal that you want to achieve, well, guess what? This will give you a slight edge than the vast majority of people. Because if you think about it, the vast majority of people don't know anything about retention. Like how I mentioned earlier, there's always promoting releasing your seed, wasting it, but they never promote, oh, okay, well, go ahead and keep it. And if you understand that, hey, this makes me a little bit different, it gives me a little bit of an energy boost, it makes me more determined, whatever benefits you kind of notice from it, you should honestly consider it in the long run of things. It's going to compound. So if you guys ever understood, do 1% better every single day, that actually adds up to a big percentage overall long term. Of course, in just a week, it's not that much, it's only 7%. But if you go up, let's say if do improve upon 1 year, that's 365% that you'll make a difference. So in the long scheme of things, it's honestly, it's going to be beneficial for you guys, and you guys got to make the decision based off yourself. I highly recommend you guys give it a try. Do it for at least 2 months, see if you notice the difference, and then make it into a lifestyle if you guys want to or not. Anyways, don't forget to smash that like button, and I'll go ahead and catch you guys in the next video.